All right, let's talk about our next hot topic, which is solving word problems using linear equations. Now, if you're like most of our students, you really don't like word problems. But I think you'll find that you can do the particular word problems that are in ALEKS. In my opinion, I think they're not as hard as some of the word problems that actually appear in textbooks. So we're going to do a couple of examples now, and I hope that we can help you figure out how to set these up. All right. Did I miss something, Jerry? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's look at this first one here. It says a total of 600 tickets were sold for a school volleyball game. There were 40 more student tickets sold than adult tickets. How many adult tickets were sold? All right, the key to doing this problem is looking at that second sentence and thinking about what it says. It says there were 40 more student tickets sold than there were adult tickets sold. In other words, the number of student tickets equals 40 more, that's addition, than the number of adult tickets. The other piece of information we know is that the number of student tickets plus the number of adult tickets equaled a total of 600. All right, so let's use some variables now. Let's call the number of adult tickets X. So I now know this. I know the number of student tickets, which is X plus 40, plus the number of adult tickets, which I've already decided to call X. That should equal 600. So this says that 2x plus 40 should equal 600. Subtract 40 from both sides. That will give you 2x equals, I believe that's 560.
You would be correct.
And then finally divide both sides by 2. Looks like x is 280. And again, if you don't know what 560 divided by 2 is off the top of your head, you grab your calculator and do 560 divided by 2 to get 280. All right, let's make sure we answered the question. We were supposed to answer the number of adult tickets. Looking here, we see that we did call the number of adult tickets X, and that's what we solved for. So this is the right answer. Make sure you answer the question ALEKS asks. If ALEKS had asked for the number of student tickets, we know that the number of student tickets is the number of adult tickets plus 40, so 280 plus 40 would give you 320 student tickets.
And always check your answer. You know, when you find out X, go back to that problem, substitute X back in there, and make sure that X plus the student tickets does equal 600.
Right, so let's actually do that. That's a good idea. We just said that there were 280 adult tickets. 280 plus 40 would give us 320 student tickets. Sure enough, if you add those, you do indeed get 600 tickets. So our answer must be correct.
There you go.
Okay, let's look at the next problem. This is similar. It's another problem involving tickets. This one says a total of 900 tickets were sold for the school football game. ALEKS is obsessed with football games. We'll just let you know that ahead of time. There are a lot of football problems. There were 220 less tickets sold to adults than students. How many student tickets were sold? All right, again, we're going to start with that second sentence. There were 220 less tickets sold to adults than sold to students. So this time, the number of tickets sold to adults is 220 less than the number sold to students. That is the number of tickets sold to students minus 220. Again, the less lets you know that it's less than.
Yeah, some of you might remember from elementary algebra, the less is that one word that's always written backwards when it comes to writing out the equation.
Right, so what Jerry means is 220 less tells you that minus 220 comes second, not
That's
first.
correct.
So it's student tickets minus 220, not 220 minus student tickets.
Right.
All right, so again, we know the number of adult tickets plus the number of student tickets. This time that equals 900. Again, we'll go ahead and call the number of student tickets X, showing enormous creativity on my part. All right, so now this says the number of adult tickets, which in this case is X minus 220, plus the number of student tickets, which we've already decided to call X. That's supposed to equal 900. And X plus X gives me 2X minus 220 equals 900. I'm going to add 220 to both sides. Move it up here. This says that 2X equals, I believe that's 1120. So finally, to solve this equation, let's divide both sides, sorry about that, by 2. And I think this comes out to be 560. Is that right, Jerry?
You are correct.
Okay, 560. All right. Again, let's make sure we answered the question before we do anything else. X represents the number of student tickets, and they did ask for the number of student tickets that were sold. All right, but let's check our answer. If there were 560 student tickets, the number of adult tickets is 560 minus 220, which I believe is 340. So let's add those and make sure that gives us 900 tickets. Yeah, that works. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the answer is correct.
One thing I want to comment on, Bill. When Bill sets up this second equation right here, adult tickets plus student tickets equals 900, we kind of assume that that's logical when you read the problem. There's no other types of tickets. From there, all he's doing is substituting for these two. He identified right here that this is an adult ticket. So therefore right here he's substituting X minus 220 for the adult ticket, and then the student ticket, since he identified that as X, he substituted in here. So we just want you aware that substitution principle that we're starting with in this course in Chapter 1, you'll see it throughout the course, and it's very handy to know.
Yeah, it's something we'll use quite a bit when we look at some of the harder quadratic equations. We have
Yes.
to solve them using substitution. Okay, thanks, Jerry. All right, so finally let's look at this last problem. This problem might actually make more sense than the others because it may be something you're familiar with. It says for his long-distance phone calls, Mike pays a $5 monthly fee plus 12 cents per minute. Last month, Mike's long-distance bill was $18.20. For how many minutes was Mike billed? These are very typical problems, and actually, if you go on to upper-level math, there are problems like this that appear when I teach business calculus as well. It's a really common setup. The setup for these problems is that there's one amount you pay once. You just pay the $5 once, but then you pay 12 cents for each minute that you talk. So I'll, again, showing enormous creativity, let X represent the number of minutes that you talk. So 12 cents per minute means 0.12 times X. And this comes out to be a total of $18.20. All right, now that you've set it up, it's a relatively easy equation to solve. We'll go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. That will give you 0.12X equals $13.20. Finally, divide both sides by 0.12. And again, you can use a calculator in this class. My calculator says 13.2 divided by 0.12 is 110. So it looks like he must have talked for 110 minutes. Which is probably less than your daughters talk each month, I would guess, on their cell phones.
Not at their age.
That's right. Yeah, your daughters don't actually have cell phones yet, but I'm sure they will soon. Jerry, talk about where this is in the book.
Yes, in the book, you'll find this some problems similar to this on pages 39 to 40. And just remember, we know word problems are tough. We're just beginning with word problems in this course, but we will be giving you a hot topic on just about every word problem throughout. So keep in tune with us, keep in tune with your master student, as well as your professor as you move forward.
All right, take care. We'll see you in the next hot topic.